Thanks for listening and subscribing to the Clive Barker Podcast. On almost every place podcasts are available, and our website, www.clivebarkercast.com. In this episode 219, Rob and I go through the news from the Reef. There's a Nightbreed screening with Nicholas Vince, a new Ultimate Cabal Cut trailer, Rawhead Rex news, convention update, and there's a new Clive Barker art available at the Clive Barker Archive. Then we go over the results of Round 1 of the Duels of Blood and discuss the new matches for Round 2. Get voting. This episode is sponsored by Don Bertram's Celebrate Imagination. Don Bertram's Celebrate Imagination Shop is dedicated to benefiting the Arts and Medicine program at Texas Children's Cancer Center. Up to 50% of the proceeds will support the program, where artist Don Bertram volunteers monthly. Our Texas friends can meet Don Bertram at a special reading of his new book, A Chimneysweep's Tale, April 20th at 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. at the Simply Fine Art Studio in Pearland. There will also be a discussion and an exhibit of his paintings. Say hi from us at the Barkercast. There's a link in the show notes and on the main site that will take you where you need to go to sign up to go see this or to buy one of his prints. We're recording a little bit out of sequence. We just got finished talking about the thrilling adventures of Sabrina, so that'll be that'll be coming out next weekend. But right now we are on episode 219, which is news, and we'll be covering also the Duels of Blood, the end of Round 1 and the beginning of Round 2.
Yes.
So we can jump right in there, and Jose is out of town on his anniversary, which we talked a little bit about in the last episode we just recorded, which will come out next week. And so I'm Ryan,
and this is Rob.
Hey, so yeah, good to hear from you again, Rob.
Yeah, definitely always good to hear from y'all.
And the news mostly comes from you, so it's good to have you on here. But starting out, breaking into going right into the news from the Reef. There's a Nightbreed 35mm print screening of the theatrical cut, where Nicholas Vince will be hosting it on Saturday, May 11th at the Shelley Theater.
Yeah, and he's also going to be a Q&A session afterwards where he'll also be signing merchandise.
That's cool
for the fans. Yeah.
Yeah,
we met. I met him for the first time ever at the Texas Frightmare Weekend, and he was a real great guy. I mean, he just seemed real nice.
Yeah. And we've had him on the show a couple of times, and talking about Hellraiser and Nightbreed, and we've talked to him about his books, What Monsters Do, and there was the other one that came after that.
Yeah, I bought both of those down there too.
Yeah, so that was cool. And then we have another book announcement here too. Rumors of the Marvelous is coming out on audiobook, and that's a ghost story compilation book by Peter Atkins.
Yeah, I think it has some of his best work in it, especially the stories King of Outer Space and Between the Cold Moon of the Earth.
Oh, I'll have to read those. I've read Aviatrix because it was printed in a fan publication, I think Dread.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
It's a great collection with some really, stories. It's a great variety of ghost stories. Some are creepy, like the intricate green figurines. That was a creepy story.
Yeah.
I remember. And then he has the Hellraiser story, Prisoners of the Inferno, which was really good too.
So he's got a pretty good library of books.
He was talking on Twitter that he's close to getting another collection out.
Wow.
They're coming out here pretty soon. So
I think that'd be fun to kind of dive into. I've never read any of his books. I've only read that one story, and that's it.
Oh yeah, you definitely. My favorite book is it's Big Thunder. Big Thunder.
Big Thunder. There we go.
Please forgive me, Peter, on that one.
Yeah.
Because I always talk about that book and how much I love the main character, Valentine Dyson. So for me to forget that title is kind of sacrilege.
Yeah. No, that's okay
But
though.
but
And
definitely, yeah, I highly recommend his books.
and the Nightbreed, the ultimate Cabal cut trailer came out,
Yeah,
which was
I
really
was,
cool. You
yeah,
know,
it was.
and I love seeing all the new stuff that's coming out on this edit of the Cabal cut. But I'm hating some of the feedback. It's like, what? Oh, this is a kick in the face to everybody that bought the 2017 Cabal cut. That was one that we recently got.
Yeah, I know.
It's
I
like,
don't know what to say to them. I
I
mean, it's
know.
like,
Well,
what
and
can you say? I mean, it's just the way things go, man. I mean,
right now it's an edit. I mean, it's
yeah,
there's no announcement for that it's coming out on any major, Blu-ray distributor label or anything. They're hoping it's they're negotiating and they're hoping for a UK European release.
yeah.
And that's what this would be, and the other one was a North American release, but it was not region coded. The 2017 Cabal cut.
In
So
the UK,
it's
and
not
other
even comparing apples to apples.
yeah, yeah,
And,
man. It's just. I don't know. I guess people want to feel like they own something special. I guess sometimes,
yeah, but
maybe
we
that's
have
the
there.
beat behind it. I can't say.
But when or if this new Nightbreed set comes out in UK and Europe, we have no idea what they're going to be able to negotiate and get the rights to put in there. So there's the theatrical cut, there's the director's cut that Shout Factory and Morgan Creek put together, and there's the Cabal cut that Seraphim put together with permission from Morgan Creek. So
Yeah,
there's a lot of hands in that in Nightbreed
that pot.
in the various versions, and we don't know. I mean, we don't know what they're going to be able to negotiate to actually put in these episodes in this release, or if they'll even be able to do it at all. I mean, it's possible it could come out and it's only the theatrical cut. Just because of rights. Yeah, so
Yeah. Because the UK doesn't have any kind of version of Nightbreed, right? I mean,
they had it on VHS, the theatrical cut on VHS, and that was in Laserdisc, and that was it.
oh,
And
okay.
the DVD never made it there, and then the director's cut was North American region only. And so when this thing comes out, in the perfect world, it'll have every version of Nightbreed on it, and it'll be like the perfect box set, But I wish that would have just happened the first time, and be not region coded. But that's not the way the world works. So
Yeah, that's just the way it is.
yeah, I mean, it's been almost 5 years since since the director's cut came out, and there's been a lot of tinkering and new footage that's come out to play with to put together this new version of the Cabal cut. And for people saying, well, then why'd they make the 2017 Cabal cut then? They're just trying to take our money. And it's like, whenever I see that, I say, okay, well, when you say that, you have to stop and look at who are they. Because
I know.
there's different rights owners for the different cuts of the movie, and for the rights depending on what region you're in.
Yeah,
So
it's a complicated process.
Yeah,
It's just when you really look at it, you're like, wow, it's really. I wouldn't want to be involved in that.
yeah, and honestly, the Cabal cut was put together by someone who was working for Clive Barker, when he felt personally a little disappointed with the editorial direction that the director's cut went. He was somebody that was involved with Occupy Midian and the Cabal cut, and wanted to see that version put on the
market.
The market, yeah, put in the set, and it didn't show up. It didn't go there because they figured Clive Barker's new director's cut would be the ultimate version, and that's fine if people like that. I thought it was great. I like the director's cut, but I also, I loved the whole process of Occupy Midian and seeing all the various versions of the Cabal cut, and I want to see like an ultimate version of that get put into a box set, and I want to see all of them in there.
You're one of the few people that actually got to see the 3-hour cut that was shown in North Carolina, right?
Oh yeah.
So,
it was long, and parts of it were so muddy it was hard to see.
Yeah.
But it also had a different feeling that's hard to describe. It's kind of like the attack on Midian felt like a Holocaust because it was 40 minutes long of people shooting down the Nightbreed and stuff.
Yeah.
And so that feeling is different because it was cut in the theatrical cut. It was cut as an action scene, and people responded to that saying, "Oh, this is too long," or "This is boring," And I think because they were used to it the other way. Well, and also it was really long, but
yeah.
And Russell and Jimmy trimmed it down over the months, in the various screenings. The Cabal cut changed quite a bit. There were 7 versions of it that toured around, and then the Blu-ray version was a completely different cut. An 8th version that was a completely different cut of the movie that was using almost exclusively the new HD footage that they found for the director's cut.
Yeah.
And now there'll be an even different one from that.
What I liked about this trailer though was how it had a great pace to it, and it was just all monster footage.
Yeah.
I thought really
and
cool
that is cool, and I think that's what people want to see. I mean, I also like all the new stuff between Laurie and Boone. And all of that stuff too. But the monsters, there were so many monsters. They made like over 100. It broke a record, I think, at the time. And most of them you don't see, or the camera scans past them, and that's it.
But in the trailer, it shows this cool. It's like a tracking shot of one of the berserkers, I guess, going through the Sons of the Free, just ripping them apart, and
then it stops and crouches down and it's pounding on him with its 2 fists.
Yeah,
like you could just imagine them just getting pulverized.
Exactly.
Yeah, like a gorilla, and that is cool. That's the kind of stuff we want to see. So I really do hope that they negotiate this, and that they can make this version happen, and I'll figure out a way to watch it. Even if I don't have a Region 2 player, I'll figure something out. But that's the other side of that coin is when people go, "Oh, well, I bought this 2017, Nightbreed, and it's supposed to be special, and now it's not because another Cabal cut's going to come out." But that's in the European region only. It's like UK and England.
Yeah.
And it's going to, and they never got anything. So it's like, why is it fair to, just so you can have something special to deny that whole region from ever getting Nightbreed when they never even got the DVD? So I don't know. That argument bugs me, and I actually got mad at somebody, and I had to delete one of my comments and kind of walk it back and apologize a little bit because.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, Ryan, you've had to tell the same story over and over a lot. I guess can kind of wear on the nerves a little bit. So I'm I'm positive you didn't mean what you said. It just at the time maybe it just got under your skin.
He said, "Isn't this just a kick to the people who bought the Cabal cut?" And he said for $300, which it wasn't. $300 is $250. And I just said no. And that was it. I didn't explain it because I was like, I'm tired of explaining this. And then, and then I said, I had said to somebody, somebody was asking me about, because they didn't know about the 2017 release. So I explained it to them. And then I said, and this guy thinks that there should be no other versions of Nightbreed made after his gets done. And then he's like, no, that's not what I said, and you're coming off kind of douchey. And it's like, oh, okay, fine. Yeah, no, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But, I just, that... I want, what I want to do is update that all versions of Nightbreed explained. And to include the ultimate cut.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think that's a great idea.
And we can just say right now it's something being edited with the hopes that it'll get included in a European release. And that's all we know about it. So people getting upset, I don't know why there's... I can't understand people getting upset about it because it's not even a release right now.
Yeah.
And even if it was, they should be happy for the people who get to watch that. And the 2017 release was only made because they thought that we would never be able to get a European version. You know, they thought that the Cabal cut would never get put out on anything else. And it's like, okay, fine. If nobody else wants it, we'll do it ourselves. That was the reasoning behind it. You know, well, here we are almost 2 years later and like, oh, maybe there's a chance.
It's like I said, try to be positive about all this, you know, guys. You know, it's just good to try to be positive than, you know, being upset. Just, you know, it's just more worth it in the end, in my opinion.
That being said, I'm going to be a little negative about this next one.
One. I totally agree with you on that.
Yeah. So George Pavlou, in an interview, had said that he had been trying for years to secure the rights to Rawhead Rex, and now he wants to make a reboot. And we've always said, I mean, I think a lot of people would agree that Rawhead Rex needs to be remade because it wasn't made well the first time. But George Pavlou is the guy that made it the first time.
I know.
Like, no, somebody else, please.
I know. I would hope. You know, I don't know, George Pavlou. I remember reading that book, The Dark Fantastic. I think at the beginning when he was wanting to make transmutations and the Rawhead Rex, I think he really wanted to create some movies that were really scary that captured Clive Barker's work.
Yeah, but
I think he failed. He was
especially transmutations. He failed miserably.
But I think he was working around with people that didn't want to didn't have the same vision.
Yeah, well, like transmutations, they didn't even realize they were making a horror movie, and it's like they wanted it to be more like a music video.
Yeah, I mean, that movie that's terrible.
Yeah, but Rawhead Rex is kind of endearing, but it's not really a well-made movie, and the creature is really poorly made, and that kind of ruins it.
Yeah, I think that there's two things that make that story work, because it really is a monster run amok story, but Clive brings this subtext to it that's interesting with the kind of like about the virgin blood and all that kind of stuff.
Well, and the creature
it doesn't get brought up. I mean, you have to love that kind of subtext and bring that into the movie. It has to take precedence and not just be kind of quickly washed over. It has to. And you have to have a creature that kind of looks like a penis in a way.
Yeah. Well, and Pumpkinhead was originally designed as a sort of an homage to Rawhead Rex, and really,
I didn't know that.
He should have looked more like that. He should have been tall and lanky, like 9 feet tall and lanky and skinny, not like a big fat costume that obviously's got a guy in it. That's like only 7 feet tall.
Now that you bring that up, I mean, not Rawhead Rex, but Pumpkinhead's head kind of looks kind of phallic in a way.
Yeah, and Pumpkinhead
a little bit.
If Pumpkinhead could have just moved a little faster, and then make the face more like Rawhead's with the jaw that where the whole head splits in half and the retractable teeth. If you took Pumpkinhead, put that on there, make him move faster with today's technology. He would be perfect.
I just back then they didn't have any kind of plan. It just seemed to, or what kind of, they just wanted to come with like a generic monster, and there again it was the 80s, and people were like, well, let's put leather on them, and so have a heavy metal kind of vibe to them, and
for
some reason that's taken
from being buried for hundreds of years.
Some fans really dig that,
and he's wearing boots and shoulder pads.
Yeah, he looks like a Kiss member or something like that, or
I know. Yeah,
I'm not a fan of it per se, but it's got a large cult following, so
yeah.
I just think it's not. I don't think it'd be a problem to redo it, but I don't know. He just says in the report or in that interview, he said it might be on the way. I don't know how official this is. I mean, I don't even know. Yeah. It's just like somebody said. I mean, I probably just best to put this in the grain of salt for right now.
Yeah. Well, and I don't think I thought that Clive had stopped them from ever making, making any more books of blood stories. And I thought he had gotten himself the rights for Rawhead, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, again, more rights issues.
Yeah, they could never come back and make a Rawhead Rex 2 or something like that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We don't know what happened because the movie was not successful, so they wouldn't have made a sequel anyway. But speaking of Clive Barker, Motor City Nightmares Hellraiser reunion update. Clive Barker will be there.
Yeah, they just how did you find out about this? Because you had told me about it. I didn't know it. Had they just updated their page or something like that, and you saw that?
I think somebody shared it from their page onto one of the groups, and it's like, oh, Clive Barker's going to be there too.
Which is great because I mean that just adds to the, the whole reunion being even more special.
Yeah, and some of the people that aren't at every single one of these things, Ashley Lawrence and Andrew Robinson will also be there.
Yeah.
So you don't see them all the time. I've never seen Andrew Robinson. So you got Ashley Lawrence, Doug Bradley, Andrew Robinson, Barbie Wilde, Nicholas Vince, Simon Bamford, and now Clive Barker.
A fan had left some messages on one of the talkbacks on the previous report I'd made, and I agree with him. I wish Sean Chapman and Claire Higgins would somehow get involved as well, but
yeah, well, I saw Claire Higgins at Monster Mania in 2012 in New Jersey.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, she was there for that Hellraiser reunion. I think she's open to it. She just doesn't want to, she doesn't
do it all the time.
Every single one of these things. And back then, it was like it had been years between Hellraiser reunions, but now they kind of do Hellraiser reunions every year at every convention.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, so
especially with the Cenobites. I mean, usually the Cenobites. With Doug, Barbie, and Nicholas and Simon are always getting together at these things.
Yeah, and now Clive is showing up at a lot more of them too.
Yeah,
we were just talking about this earlier. I think yesterday, wondering how many times Clive has been to conventions now since he's feeling a little more up to it, and he's decided to start making his public appearances. And we're wondering, is it 4 or 5, something like that?
I think it's 4 because he did the Texas Frightmare Weekend, then he did Chicago Days of the Dead.
But there were 2 Days of the Dead, and I think he went to both of those. There was Days of the Dead Chicago, and then there was another one in the South somewhere, I think. Right?
Wasn't that Atlanta?
Yeah, Days of the Dead Atlanta. He went to both of them. Yeah,
Rory went to that one. Yeah. And then there's this one, so that's 4, isn't it?
Okay. Yeah, maybe that is it.
And he talked about hopefully fans over in the UK, he said in the interview that he might be coming to a convention over in London sometime in the near future. So that would be good.
Yeah, that would be great. Well, yeah, I'm glad to see him feeling better.
Oh, yeah.
Feeling more up to doing stuff with the fans.
And in the picture,
go ahead.
The pictures I've seen, he definitely looks like he's having fun, and he's smiling and just enjoying himself. So that's really cool.
Motor City Nightmares is going to be in the Sheraton Detroit Novi Hotel, April 26th through 28th. And we'll have a link in the show notes where you can click through to get to where you can buy tickets and to go see them if you're in Michigan or Detroit area.
Yeah, there's also a event photo op schedule that they shared that tells you the times of when, like, if you want to see all the guests, but specifically like Clive and all the other actors from the reunion. It gives the time, so that's something that's in the report.
Yeah. So that'd be cool. Hopefully, there's still slots available for that as you're listening to this. And, if you do go see it, let us know how it goes. Share your experience and your pictures. We can't go to all of these things. It took a year of prep work and planning and fundraising to go just to Texas Frightmare weekend.
Yeah. But it was a blast. It was worth it.
Yeah, it was great. So now we'll head in. Sorry, my voice is kind of going, I guess, from doing the 2 hours of the other episode.
Yeah.
Okay, and the last little bit of news. There are new paintings in the Clive Barker store, and we got this news actually while we were recording a little earlier.
Yeah, Marcus sent us a message about that.
Yeah, so thanks, Marcus. And it looks like the majority of them are sketches except for the Kiss Me painting.
Yeah. And they're from the message from the Clive Barker archive said it was offers very insightful view into the development of characters from the Abarat series and Deep Hill. So I guess some of those paintings must be from characters from that book.
Oh, well, it's interesting.
So that's what I took from it, at least.
Yeah, so over at CliveBarkerArchive.com, you can still get them. And you had written in your story that some of them have already been bought.
Yeah, about 6 pieces have already been bought.
Okay, of the original ones, and then Kiss Me is a print.
Yeah.
So cool.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully they'll start, selling more of those. Maybe they'll be the official. Now they'll be the official Clive Barker store.
Oh yeah.
Because we need one. I miss the Clive Barker store.
Yeah, I know. I think that's probably where they're going. It seems that way.
Yeah.
Because there's been more and more art showing up on there. But not so much like the old sort of garage sale of Clive Barker's extra copies of books and, cool stuff like that. That's not happening. But there is a lot of his art. And and then Phil and Sarah's projects like the Imaginer series and the playbooks.
Hopefully maybe they'll start doing those other books too.
Yeah, that would be cool.
We'll work that in.
Okay. Well, that being said, so let's dive into the Duels of Blood. So round one ended at midnight Alaska time on Saturday, March 16th. It was actually 11:59 and 59 seconds. I did that
really?
so that I could easily tell that it was one day and not the other day.
Oh, okay. Well, there's some upsets in here for sure.
Yeah, I know. Well, so our first one, we've got Sathan versus Chimneysweep, and Chimneysweep won. I mean, I think Sathan had like 2 votes.
No, she only had one on my end.
One vote, and that that one vote might have just been me because you can't see the results until you click on it. So sometimes I'd do a vote just to check the results.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, Chimneysweep won that one. Narcisse versus Peliquin. This was a closer match.
Yeah, and I was really surprised. I thought Pelican would win though.
I did
come
too.
out on top because I had picked him as the winner of it all, but that's blown my I don't know really who's going to win
Narcisse
it now.
Was more of a fun character, and I think we can't discount the fact that Hugh Ross actually interacts with people on Facebook.
Yeah, that's probably has something to do with it.
Yeah. And then we've got Dagon versus Frick. This is the first time I was surprised to see this one, and it was close. But Dagon, a comic book character, beat Frick, a movie character.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I've not read the comic books of Nightbreed very, like you and Jose have. So I don't
Oh
know
yeah,
who Dagon is or.
he's one of the. So there was a group of. There was a group that was going around killing people and eating them, and he was in that group.
Oh, okay.
so the so there was another group that had Boone and Peliquin and Kinski and Lori who had magic powers, and they were going to find these people and stop them. And then we've got Yilly Cat versus Tater. So in this one, Yilly Cat, the movie character, beat Tater, the comic book character. Tater looked like a little innocent girl, and then these creepy old guys would try to abduct her or whatever, and then her mouth would open up, and all these huge tentacles would come out and
Yeah.
grab them and eat them.
Oh yeah, I see that in the pic. God.
Yeah, and then we've got Paracelsus versus Kinski, and that was a landslide for Kinski.
Yes,
Kinski being a major character, and
from the movie.
yeah, and a actor, Nicholas Vince, who also played the Chatterer in Hellraiser. It's not much of a competition on that one.
Yeah, and it was good.
Mexico
Next versus the
versus the
Thrall.
Thrall. Yeah, this one I was a
And
little surprised. I think both of them had kind of equal time in the movie, but it was a landslide for
so,
Mexico. We kind of joke about him on the podcast sometimes.
yeah, he kind of gets the butt of some jokes.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I'm
and
glad
then
to see him move on.
yeah, and Decker. This is the resurrected Nightbreed version of Decker that's at the end of the movie. Uh, Versus the comic character Fachan, which is kind of like an eyeball with arms and legs. So Decker won on this one also by a landslide, which is not surprising.
Yeah,
Anastasia versus Lizzie B. So Anastasia won. These two characters are really similar. It was actually kind of funny that they got paired together in the randomizer. But Anastasia has like a Siamese twin kind of growing out of her face because of a skin graft,
yeah.
and Lizzie B has a hand coming out of her chin. So,
What's
but
the reason for? I've always wondered what's the reason for the hand. Was there?
I can't remember. I think that is in the Nightbreed Chronicles, but I can't remember what that is.
Oh, okay.
We've got Otis and Clay versus Giblin and Viali. And Otis and Clay are the two twins that are kind of smushed together. So they look like when you put your face on the side of a mirror, so that you're
Yeah,
yeah.
they do. Yeah.
So Otis
So
and Clay won that one by a long ways, and Giblin and Viali I think were a couple that were exposed to like a meteorite and they got mutated. Is Papalotti was a comic character, a Nightbreed that was worshipped as a god in South America, versus Toledo, which is Babette's
that bad.
father, the werewolf.
I was glad to see him win.
Yeah, Toledo. I was too. I like Toledo,
I
and
do too.
I like that we get to see him in the Cabal cut.
Yeah, I do too. I never really realized when I saw it when I first watched the movie when it shows that those murals being
Oh yeah,
shown and then it ends the shot on him. I never
yeah.
realized that was a character. I just thought that was just like a shot of a wolf.
I always thought that too. Especially
Then
during the just the days of the direct. I mean the theatrical cut.
yeah, and now that you can see when you watch it, you can see him painting now. I actually noticed that now when I see the scene.
Oh wow.
He just it looks like he's finishing up a painting.
Yeah, and I like Toledo, and
I do.
in the director's cut they had to make the editorial decision to get rid of him because you the it follows the arc of Inspector Joyce rescuing Babette,
Yeah,
and if you have they wanted to develop more of the relationship between Laurie and Babette, so in they followed the arc where Lori rescues her, and
Yeah.
so when that happens, there's no Toledo. It's interesting. It's sort of a editing that movie is sort of a choose your own adventure. It's like if you make one little decision, it affects the way you edit the whole rest of the movie.
It does. You're right.
And we've got Mulciber versus Nick Naven. So Mulciber, that bird-looking dude on the left there with the sunglasses.
Oh wait a minute. We missed Babette versus
Oh yeah, Babette versus Kolka Three Fly. So yeah, Babette obviously won. She's a prominent character, and she even has some lines in at the end of the movie in the director's cut, in the Cabal cut.
Yeah.
She's played by twin actresses.
She has even more lines in the Cabal cut, if I remember. Yeah.
Yeah.
Talking to Lori about.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So that is cool. Mulciber versus Nick Naven. Mulciber is the bird face leader of the group that goes around eating people. Nick Naven is kind of a witch that tells people prophecies and what to watch out for.
Yeah.
Yeah, amongst the other Nightbreed in the comic. So Mulciber won that one. And then Cabal, this one I felt a little sad for Scorch.
Yeah, Scorch.
Cabal
He looks sad in the
Scorch.
picture. He knows he's lost.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Cabal, one of the primary characters of the story and the savior and, of the Nightbreed, and the movie follows his story. I think that him and Lori are both the lead characters. Maybe Lori a little bit more.
Yeah, I think so too.
And we've got Axed versus Vasti Moses. So Axed was a buffalo sort of character, Nightbreed character that was a victim of the Vasa Iniquitati, when the Nightbreed versus Cenobites happened in the Jihad comics. He got hit on the head with a hammer from one of the Cenobites.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, so his one and only appearance was just to be murdered by them. And versus Vasti Moses, movie character, so he won by a lot.
Yeah, it was
89% of the votes. And so I did notice that on these votes that involved only comic characters, they got largely skipped by people. They would just kind of skip. I don't know those guys, and they just skip on to the next ones.
Yeah, the votes are very minimal.
Yeah, but Aiello versus Spider Baby, Aiello won. They were both members of that group that were going around eating people in the first comic arc that wasn't a movie adaptation. For the Nightbreed comics. And,
okay.
Spider Baby said something that he was like hanging on the steering wheel right there when he said something they didn't like, and they threw him out the window and he got run over. So that was kind of the end of him. This one was a big. Is this the upset that you were thinking of?
Yes.
Yeah, me too.
Dirk Lausberg versus Kirshner Day. I didn't expect this at all.
Kirshner Day is the drummer. In the movie, and he beat Lylesburg with 72% of the votes. Yeah, surprising. I mean, I wonder if this is because Lylesburg is not a super likable character.
Yeah, he's kind of, I mean, I like Lylesburg, but he is kind of, he just wants to keep things the same, even when, when things are going to hell.
Yeah.
He's just like, we have to stay here.
This is our home.
You really need to get out.
Yeah, it's like, but your home is getting
falling
blown
apart
up right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but played by Doug Bradley. So really surprising that this upset happened. And this was an interesting one, Mezek Mul versus Tezcatlipoca, which is he was another. Tezcatlipoca was another one of those from that same comic. He was one of those ones worshipped in South America as a god.
Yes.
In the comics, and then Mezek Mul was he was being ridden by Diodara, which we should have put Diodara in here as one of the characters also, but
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a stop motion animation.
Yeah.
Character, right? Yeah.
The
So
first thing we ever saw from the missing footage, right? Because Phil and Sarah had a little animation of that.
yeah, on
Like
Revelations. Okay.
back in '09 when they first found the footage before they ever put it together into the Cabal cut.
Yeah, I used to always look at that for the longest time, like, oh, it's
Yeah,
new footage from Nightbreed.
yeah. So of course Mezikmul, the beast that Diodara rid on, was Mezikmul won by 71% of the votes. We've got Ghost, the berserker played by Nicholas Vince, versus Gallows, a Nightbreed character from the comics. And so Ghost
Ghost.
won by a lot. He
Yeah,
had 87% of the votes.
he tore apart.
Yeah,
Yeah, I like Ghost. He's one of my favorite berserkers.
yeah. And May versus Piglet. So one thing, if you read the Nightbreed comics, there are like 3 or 4 arcs where there's some female character that is like Peliquin's girlfriend
Yeah.
who gets killed. I don't know why they kept doing that, but May is one of those girlfriends that gets killed. She's a werewolf.
Okay.
Versus Piglet, who is another one of those guys that in the group that goes around eating people. So May beat him by a lot. The Fabilu family versus Targul. So I don't think. Do we ever actually see the Fabilu family in the movie? I can't remember.
I don't recall this ever seeing them. I would have remembered it. Maybe
Yeah.
if they show up in the background in some of the, the
Yeah.
Cabal cut or the director's cut. I don't. I would remember the faces.
Yeah.
You know.
And but they're definitely in the Nightbreed Chronicles, which is where this portrait of them comes from.
Yeah.
And the Targul. I think Targul is really cool. But Targul is in another one of those Nightbreed comic plots where he killed Peliquin's girlfriend, and he's the last remaining berserker. He's drawn so he doesn't look like the other berserkers. He's got kind of a cool design.
I was going to ask you if he was a berserker because he has
He looks
those
kind
eyes.
of demonic.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Peliquin faces off against him in the comics. But the Fabilu family won with 87% of the votes, so it was
three against one. It's not really
yeah,
fair.
that's right. And I think the Fabilu family are the ones that are aging in reverse. So like,
Oh, really?
yeah, the son is the husband or something like that. So Leroy Gom versus Radinka. It's not much of a competition since Leroy Gom has lines and Radinka doesn't.
Yeah.
And then we've got Mater Q versus Ozymandias. Mater Q is a kind of a bit character, also in the Nightbreed Chronicles. Ozymandias was an Egyptian Nightbreed who wanted to become a god and defeat Baphomet. And then Chocolat. This one I was a little bit surprised, but I didn't know which way it was going to go because Chocolat is a movie Nightbreed character who had a pretty good part in the new Boom Studios Nightbreed comics.
Yeah. Her backstory was really explained, or they showed her backstory more.
Yeah, versus Lori. This is the comic book Lori who can play guitar and make the dead come up out of the ground.
That's pretty cool. I like how she's rocking out on that guitar in that picture.
Yeah. Yeah, so Lori won, I think, because, despite the fact that this is the comic book version of Lori, who's a Nightbreed, she's still Lori. So I think that's why she beat Chocolat. And we've got Saul versus Beloid Mato, and Beloid Mato is the one that in the movie goes at Lori when she's walking through Midian.
Well, you sounded just like him just there, Ryan. Good interpretation.
So Beloid, he won by a lot because he sort of has a line, I guess, in the movie, and Saul doesn't.
Yeah, but I like Saul's face. I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, it is cool. And then Onaka versus Ashbury. I mean, I think
Yeah.
I thought that Ashbury would get more votes just as a recognizable main character of the movie.
Yeah.
But I knew that Onaka would win because of the support that he has from uh,
Certain,
from
a certain
Lori.
fan. Yeah.
Yeah, but I thought that
I have a
Ashbury would
feeling.
still get votes. I mean, he didn't get very many.
I don't know. I just I have
Yeah,
a feeling Onaka's going to win this all. Just
yeah,
for
it's very possible.
yeah.
We've got Bloody Bones versus his son Maximilian Bloody Bones. So Bloody Bones is like a silly putty.
Yeah.
He's a little blob that kind of oozes around. And the woman that was up at the top, Sathan, was his wife.
Oh, okay.
So he beat his son Maximilian. So he Bloody Bones is moving on to the next round. Eighth Nisi and Eighth Nicus were comic characters from the Jihad series, also killed by the Cenobites. Versus Slaughter, the Berserker. So Slaughter the
Took
Berserker.
care of him.
Yeah, yeah, he had 93% of the votes.
Yeah.
Oral versus Guido, two Nightbreed comic characters. This didn't get a lot of votes in general, but Oral is kind of a more striking character. I mean, his mouth can open up impossibly huge, and then he just crams things into his gums to make them into into teeth. So Oral is the winner of that one. Guido could take his spine out and hit people with it. And there was one issue where he took his spine out and turned it into a fan belt to get a car running.
Oh, cool. That's a cool power. You know, I mean, damn.
We got Rachel versus Rawhead Rex's daughter, because there was a crossover with the Nightbreed versus Rawhead Rex,
Yes.
and and there was an interesting storyline because at the end of it, this is a spoiler, but Rawhead had a daughter that attacked Rawhead and killed him by the end of the series, and she was part Nightbreed and part Rawhead.
Was that actually in the Nightbreed comic books, or did it switch it? Did it kind of do a spin off?
No, it was in the Nightbreed comics.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because the Rawhead comic was really just a kind of a one-off.
Oh,
thing.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about. Is the Rawhead
Yeah.
comic?
Yeah, he didn't even. It wasn't even like the same art or anything or related at all.
Okay.
And then we've got the Weaver versus Jean Dulac. And this one was close the whole time. I never knew which one was going to win. They're both very obscure characters even for the comics. The Weaver was in Epic #2, which was like not the main Nightbreed series, but like a little here's an anthology comic with a Nightbreed story in it.
Yeah. Jean Dulac won just by 4 votes. So I mean, yeah, you're right. It came down to the wire.
Yeah, and it was that way the whole way. Then we've got Lude versus Paseo the Pale, and of course Lude being Leroy Gomm's buddy and having lines, he won by a landslide, 95% of the votes.
Wow, what a mess.
Yeah. And then you take the big guy.
Yeah, sucker.
Baphomet versus Ignatius. So Ignatius was a were-rat that was trying really hard not to eat people, but eventually he gave in and was eating people. So Baphomet won.
Yeah, it was,
of course,
like a landslide.
98% of the votes. Probably most people didn't know who Ignatius was. He was in a one-shot comic in the Nightbreed series, written by the Wachowskis.
Oh, cool.
All right, so we move on to the new pairing. So I did the randomization, and by the time this episode goes out, hopefully it'll be ready to vote. So head over to Duels of Blood and start voting on round 2, which will be up for 2 weeks and ending in 2 weeks on Friday night at midnight instead of Saturday night. So we've got Ghost, the Berserker versus Anastasia. And then we have Shuna Sassy versus Toledo. And that's a little bit too bad because I think Shuna Sassy is going to win, and I really like Toledo. I like Toledo as a missing character, and as Babette's father.
Yeah.
So that that'll be too bad to see him go. But I have a feeling he can't beat Shuna Sassy with Christine McCorkindale being sometimes in the convention circuit and approachable on Facebook, and we've talked to her here on the podcast. She's great.
Yeah, she is.
We've got May versus Otis and Clay. So May the werewolf versus Otis and Clay. I think probably Otis and Clay will take that one.
Yeah, another Cabal, I think.
Yeah.
Next one.
Oral versus Cabal. I can't imagine that Cabal would lose that one.
Yeah, but
Kushner Day versus Decker. So this one I don't know which way it's gonna go because I didn't expect him to beat. I didn't expect Kushner Day to beat. He beat Lylesburg.
Lylesburg.
Yeah, so I didn't expect that, and now he's going up against the resurrected Decker. So we'll see.
We'll just have to wait and see. Yeah, we'll see on that one.
No idea. Vasti Moses versus Baphomet.
I'd have to say Baphomet.
Yeah, I'm definitely more of a main character. Bloody Bones versus Onaka. I think that one we know.
Yeah, that's where that's going.
Without a doubt. Yeah.
No.
Unless somebody comes around and starts a campaign for Bloody Bones.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's gonna happen, but we'll see.
Yeah. Devil Lude versus Mexico.
This could be close. I could see that one being close.
It could, and because Mexico is sort of an unspoken mascot because he shows up on the cover of things.
Yeah.
But Devil Lude has lines and is is buddies with Leroy Gom.
Yeah, exactly.
Beluit Mato versus Babette. So the guy that goes versus Babette. Yeah, I think Babette's probably going to win that one.
Yeah, I do too.
Mulciber versus Lori. Probably Lori is going to win that one.
Give that to her.
Mater Q versus Narcisse. Definitely Narcisse.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Fabilu family versus Dagon. I don't know on that one.
Let's have to wait and see. It's a coin toss on that one for me.
Slaughter versus Jean Dulac. I think that's going to be the end for Jean Dulac.
Yeah.
Versus Slaughter, the Berserker. Leroy Gom versus Kinski. That's tough.
Yeah, no, that's made me kind of think.
Kinski is a more instrumental character in the story, and I think Leroy Gom was a second, was part of the reshoots. But
I think they're both fan favorites, so we'll just have.
Mezik Mul versus Aiello. Probably Mezik Mul. Yili Cat versus Rachel. I think that one's gonna go to Rachel.
Yeah. So that's the new lineup.
Yeah. So start voting. Head over to duelsofblood.com. Start voting. We've got a link. We'll have a link in the show notes for this episode and on the main Barkercast website. So you can go over to the Duels of Blood website and start voting. And hopefully if I can get my act together, and I have to hand code those pages, by the way. So I type out the table in HTML and then have to paste in the link for every single picture.
Yeah, that can be. I bet that's tedious.
Yeah, it really is. But it gets easier every round because every time I have to do half as many. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
So I just copy and paste the old one and then change I have to create all the polls and then so I do it on like 3 websites open at one time. And I caught one of them is just open with the media browser so I can copy the links to the pictures.
Yeah.
And then I just copy the old one, and then I cut it in half, and then I swap out all the poles that I have to recreate, and change the pictures.
So it's always the beginning that's the most difficult
Yeah.
to get all that prepared.
Yeah, that takes hours.
Yeah.
So I'll probably work on that while I'm editing this, and hopefully it'll all be up at the same time.
Okay.
Okay, so on the site, we had episode 218, Abarat, which we've been getting some good positive feedback about, that had Peggy O'Leary. So if you haven't listened to that one, go back and give it a listen. If you're a Clive Barker novels fan, we go back to his novels, and if you're an Abarat fan, definitely listen to that. Peggy O'Leary was a teacher in Kodiak Middle School in Alaska, and Clive Barker helped her develop curriculum for Abarat.
Yeah, that was really cool. Will she be joining you with the other two?
Yes, as long as she agrees. I mean, I think so. As long as it works for her and she agrees to it. But yeah, when we get back to Abarat Days of Magic, Nights of War, we're gonna ask her back on.
Okay.
And coming up next, we'll be talking about. We'll be doing a commentary for the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. Episode 1 and 2 will be next week, and we have already recorded that. That's why my voice is a little hoarse. And more Duels of Blood and more news. All right. Well, in this podcast, having no beginning, will have no end. You can find the show notes for this episode and join the discussion over at www.clivebarkercast.com, where we have news, features, reviews, and links to all the ways you can connect with us. You can subscribe on Apple Podcasts and every other place you can find podcasts. Clive Barker Podcast, or Barkercast, is an independent editorial, podcast, and news blog that is not affiliated with or under contract by Clive Barker or Seraphim Inc. This is a labor of love by the fans for the fans.
Thanks for listening.